And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. And now, more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, all this week, we want to turn our attention to what we call Generation Next. That's right, they are barely in their 20s. But my goodness, when I tell you they are representing this country in the ultimate, they are flying our flag like no other. Young, smart, brilliant, ambitious, and going places. And who better to have on the bench on this Monday than a young man who's as humble as he is a superstar. Barely 26 years old, barely out of college. He was in college in 2006 when he got a job as an intern at KTN, stayed with the job, graduated in 2007, continued with that job. Barely 2 years later, look at this. He is CNN's African Journalist of the Year. That's right. He's got a treasure trove of trophies. In fact, he had to come in with a little wheelbarrow because he's won so many trophies. He won 3 of these. He's won a Human Rights Award, a Habari Award, a couple of months ago. He is just smoking, for lack of a better word. He loves what he does. He does stories that make you think. He is making this nation proud, not just of himself, but the network he represents and the country. And he is as humble as they come. That's right. And one more thing, if this is not his year, I don't know what is, because he's just become a daddy. This past weekend, a young son. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. And he hasn't even peaked. That's the most important part. He is journalist. That's right. Who else? A man with 2 first names. John-Allan. John-Allan Namu is on the bench.
Hey, Jeff.
John-Allan, my goodness. What a year.
What a year.
Huh?
What an intro.
I make it up, man. I just make this stuff up.
Yeah.
Well done, John. But every time I see you on the screen, I say, maybe I'm seeing myself in you, or with a lot of the people, like a lot of the older journalists are seeing themselves in you, because you are the new breed of journalist. You're young, you're fearless, you do your research, and you put together a story that people look at and say, wow, how did it start, John? Let's go back.
Back right to the beginning?
Yeah. How did you get into this business?
How I got into the business was a personal decision. Early in high school, a lot of things weren't going right for my dad and with his job, and he was what I can say, the first victim of corruption that I saw. He worked hard at his job. He's a brilliant guy, and somewhere along the line, because of corruption of other people, he lost quite a lot. Yeah. And that affected me more than he knows. I used to play around, hang around school, and just be this little chubby guy who who really didn't know much about life. But when that happened, that it really gave me the incentive to start working at changing certain things in our society, because it affected me on such a personal level. I felt that I couldn't just sit back. And I guess that's where the seed was planted. Yeah. But I had toyed with the idea of being a journalist early on in life. Way back in Standard 7, I was, back when you were on TV. Actually, the story has to do something with you. We had a prize day in Strathmore, and we had these little skits that were asked to do. So everyone was asked to do a skit about their favorite person. So I march up on stage in my little suit, and then I go, "Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange." And the crowd went wild. So I was like, this could actually work. Yeah, and after that, I guess the rest
You're kidding. You didn't make this up.
No, I kid you not. This actually happened. Yeah, I did.
My goodness. Oh, this is unbelievable. And you went to St. Mary's as well?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And you were captain of the rugby team. That's huge in Mary's, man.
It is one of the, to this day, it's one of the most distinct and biggest honors that I've ever been given. A huge responsibility.
Yeah.
The school has a huge sense of history. It has and a lot of things while I was at St. Mary's coalesced around the rugby team, and just the ethos and the spirit of the school. Also, it it went through right through the rugby team, and it was just an honor to captain that team.
Yeah,
I think anyone who's had that experience knows what I'm talking
No
about.
doubt, no doubt. The St. Mary's builds character, and that's what you have, my brother. Let's go straight to the CNN Awards. So in '07, right, you entered these two stories.
In '08.
'08, okay.
In '08, yeah.
Stories you did in '07.
Yeah, no. I entered them. When did I enter them? My gosh.
Last year, anyway.
Last year.
So
yeah.
first one was about Mungiki,
Yes.
and you went deep into Mungiki, yeah? How did you get that access?
Well, I work with a colleague of mine on the Swahili desk. His name is Mohammed Ali.
Good guy.
The famous guy.
Good
Jicho Pevu.
Jicho Pevu.
Yeah. And so we both have a lot of contacts, while doing our story. So one day we decided to sit down and think about how we can approach this Mungiki story from a different perspective. There had been a lot of killings the year earlier, and we'd been to a lot of the KNCHR reports about how many people were killed and so on and so forth. So we tried to think about how the Mungiki would affect Kenya's future going forward. At that time, the Prime Minister had said some things about speaking to the Mungiki rather than killing them all. And we thought perhaps it would be a good idea to just let people think about what the Mungiki as a group, as individuals, and as representing young people in this country, a huge constituency of people who are jobless and really have no hope, means for the future of this country. So we continue to build our contacts, and finally we decided on the idea of telling the story of the Mungiki sect through Maina Njenga. Maina was in jail at the time, still is. We thought it'd be an interesting story to tell because not many people know that much about Maina and his relation to the group. So I guess from then on we just built the idea, spoke to a couple of the guys within the sect, spoke to a couple of analysts who've been analyzing the sect and how it relates to our country, and came up with a story that we did.
When you saw the story, when it was put together finally and it aired, did you say, you know what, we've really done justice to the story?
I'd say I'm a little self-critical. I'll say that. I felt that there were certain things that I could have added, there were certain things I could have taken away, but on the whole, I felt that I had done myself pretty proud because that, for me, was the first time I'd really knuckled down and done a story that I could say can stand the test of criticism internationally as well as locally.
Yeah. So when you entered it for the competition, did you have any idea this story would be the overall?
No.
None.
The CNN Africa Journalist of the Year Awards, to me, represents all that's good about African journalism. We in Kenya think we've got it good, but there's so many other people who do so many other stories that you feel a little small as compared to them. And when I entered the story, I knew it was a good story. I knew that the judges would take a second look. That one I knew. But I did not think that it would win in one category and finally propel me to win the overall prize.
Yeah.
But I guess it was good for me because it spoke to what I'd wanted to achieve in the story. I wanted to have people sit down, watch the story, and think about what the Mungiki means to this country. So if people who don't even live in this country could relate, then I guess I did my job pretty well in that respect.
Well done. I have to mention at this point that K24 also had a winner in category Violet Otindo. We have to mention that because, just like these categories that you won, she won the environment. So, well done to her.
Yeah.
So you're there, you win this first one, and then you, for the very first time in the competition's history, you win another category. Which was the TV short version, right?
Yeah.
And that story was?
Scars and Sufurias.
That's right, IDPs.
Wow. We did it at a time that people were rather tired of the whole IDP story. You see, the thing about television, the thing about the media is as when people keep putting these things in your face and the public gets tired of listening to stories about IDPs, sadness every time they're around the dinner table or around the television watching news. But this is an important issue that wasn't being dealt with. So myself, my Swahili colleague Purity Mwambia, my cameraman, all sat down and we thought about a way that we could do this story that could break that kind of monotony and remind people that, hey, there's people in tented camps who weren't there the year before. there's a political dispute that seems to have been settled but really hasn't solved their problems on the ground. And we were fortunate enough to find people who were willing to tell us this story. The two ladies that that we featured in the story, those are some of the most heartbreaking stories that I've ever told, because these are Kenyans, you know. Beyond being a journalist and telling the story, these are people who had lives. These are people who are your countrymen, and they're suffering like they were in all these other countries that you hear about on television, these perennial conflict zones. And Kenya isn't that. You know, Kenya is so much more than that, and you wonder, how can this be in your own country? So I guess that resonated through my story, and it resonated with the judges. And I'm glad it won, because if nothing else, it will remind people that aside from this award, there really are people who are still victims of the post-election crisis, still victims of the inability to move forward and solve our own problems, and nothing is being done, or very little at the very least. And that's an important message that people need to keep on hearing. If nothing is being done, something has to happen. And at one point, I guess, you know, we're going to have to do it ourselves.
Someone has to tell that story.
Yeah, and someone has to tell the story.
No doubt, no doubt. And the good part about it, John, is that, you know, because it was a short news version category, people think, oh, it's, you know, it's the breaking news version, it's the news that you watch today and it's gone tomorrow. But that human interest story stayed on people's minds, and that's important.
Yeah, it is. It is. I felt that a few days after the story ran, a good friend of mine, my best friend, called me, and she told me that, you know, that story had really touched her. A couple of other people called and told me the same, and I was glad, because that was what I wanted to do, prick someone's conscience, someone out there, and have them listen to what you're saying about the situation in our country, which is dire. Yeah. It is dire.
This was Kenya's year at the awards, wasn't it? Huh? Yes. What, 5 out of possibly 6?
5 out of 6. 5 out of possible 6.
Yeah.
And it felt so good to walk tall amongst everyone in the continent. There's no feeling like that. You know, many times people look at Kenya as, you know, one of the little brothers in the African continent. But to walk tall, all 5 of us, in fact all 6 of us, because all of us were finalists, to walk tall on that level and to be honored on that level was something of immense pride. And I guess that's why I sang the national anthem.
I was getting to that. It was that patriotism you felt, right?
Oh yeah, I was so proud to be Kenyan at that point. So proud I could just burst. It was it was an amazing feeling. Yeah. Yeah, and you don't often get to feel that way. So I was loving every move.
It's the first of many, my brother. Take it from me. First of many. John, I want to talk more about that. And also, what happens now, John? The pressure's on you. You've won the ultimate prize on the continent. What happens next? Number 2, how is fatherhood so far, man? Couple of days, you know, how's it feel? And also, what's the ultimate? Where does John want to end up 10 years from now? First, we'll take a break. Count them. I have to show them to you. 3 CNN MultiChoice awards, and the overall, including the overall. He's the journalist of the year. He's humble, he's young, he's smart, and he knows what he wants. He's telling the Kenyan story. That's right, without fear or favor. This is what we mean when we talk about the future of Kenya. And it's only Monday. This bench is all about Generation Next this week. Don't even think of going away, because Capital Talk is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. All this week we are talking to Generation Next. They are barely in their 20s and they are flying this country's flag so high, making the rest of us so proud, because the future is looking good. Like my guest, he is the Journalist of the Year. That's right, CNN MultiChoice African Journalist of the Year 2009. He's won 3 of these so far, and a Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Award. And he's only barely 26 and barely starting in his career. Not like some of us who've been here close to 2 decades. This man is lighting up the field, making us all so proud. Yes, he may be working for the competition, but we love having a winner on the bench. John-Allan Namu. Well done, man. This is incredible. This is good stuff, man. So, Your name is called. You've won 2 already, and now they're looking at the overall. And they say, and the winner is John-Allan Namu. What goes through your mind?
My mind just goes blank. Blank, completely blank. I was like, oh my God, are they serious? Yeah.
Is it me?
Is it me?
Yeah.
Now I almost had to look around and, geez. I don't know why it came as such a shock, because everyone afterwards was telling me you won 2 awards. Wasn't it obvious? I was like, no. I mean, the quality of people that I met there, the quality of journalism was so high that I didn't expect them to just give it to me. And when they did, that was wow. It was a really, really proud. That's one of the moments in my life I don't think I'll forget very soon. Yeah.
All right. So now you come back home. Everyone's showering you with all kinds of accolades and everything. A lot of pressure, John. A lot of pressure. What's next?
What's next is to keep on telling the Kenyan story. And keep on telling it as truthfully as I can, as best as I can, and as long as I can. Because, you know, there's always going to be someone better than me, someone better at doing this job than I am. And I accept that. And it's good, because that means then that Kenyans will expect more of each other and themselves. But as long as I'm here and as long as I'm doing this job, I'd like to do it as best as I can for the people who watch me, whether I'm here or somewhere else in the continent. I'd like to do that for them, because this really is about them. It's not about me.
There you go. There you go. So let me ask you a question. A lot of people ask me. They say Kenya is too small for you. If I ask you, is Kenya too small? Would you want to expand your horizons? Tell, say, the African story? Is that something you're thinking?
Of course it is. Of course it is. The African story is one that has been told from the perspective of the hunter. Yeah? Not from the perspective of the lion. We are the lions. And it's a good thing that we're finally getting a chance to tell our story to a broader context, a broader flavor, texture of people, if you will. And of course I'd like to do that. I think it's every journalist's dream to do that. But I don't think that I'm too big for Kenya. I don't think so. There's still so many things about our country that haven't been said. There's so many issues that haven't been dealt with. And so many rich, and wonderful and complex things about our country that haven't been shown to the people who don't know them, which are our countrymen. Kenya isn't too big for me. I'd say I'm too small for Kenya. Yeah, because there really won't be that there's an infinite number of stories that we could tell about this country. Yeah. Of course, I'd want to tell stories about the African continent. That's every journalist's ambition, I believe.
You've been getting a lot of phone calls from people around Nairobi, I mean, since you came back, right? I mean, how are people, first of all, at KTN, how have they accepted this new John-Allan? Because you started as an intern.
Yeah.
And someone was telling me, a good friend of yours was telling me, your very first live on TV, or one of your very first live, you were so nervous, you couldn't even say tsunami. You ended up saying tsunami. Is that true?
Oh yes it is. And I'm sure that she'll never let me live that down. I am sure of that. Yeah. But it's been an amazing journey. It has. I've seen myself grow from this very scared, very young and fresh and green individual to someone who knows a little more about the industry. That I felt was good. Of course, I still stutter and stammer and sputter like I've just eaten a piece of bad chicken, but that happens to everyone. Correct. And the thing about KTN is that it's let me grow. It's let me make my mistakes within reason. And when I came back from South Africa, it accepted me, I guess, like a parent would accept their child. I've been received very warmly by everyone, from marketing to the newsroom, to my bosses. Yeah. They've all been very, very happy because they know that they're celebrating themselves in me. They all help build what we sold to the continent. Yeah. Of course, there's some people who won't be happy.
Always haters.
Haters. Yeah, but there's a comedy show that I watch and says, if you don't have one or two haters, then you're not doing well.
Yeah. So, then you know you're in trouble.
Exactly. So bring them on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Also, people around town. What's it like walking around town as John right now? I mean, since this newfound fame, is it difficult walking around town?
It isn't difficult per se. it's a little harder to go and sit down if you want a private moment. But that comes with everything. But it is so humbling. I cannot tell you how humbling it feels for someone who's twice your age to come and shake your hand and tell you I'm proud of you. And he's someone from a background so diverse, so different than yours, but at that very moment, he feels proud to be shaking the hand of a Kenyan who's represented Kenya. That feeling, those kinds of feelings you can't buy. I feel so humble every time that someone comes and greets me because they really are just appreciating them, like I said, themselves. I guess winning an award helps people see themselves in you, the potential of Kenya through you. And it's extremely humbling, Jeff. I can't tell you how.
Speaking of humility, John, and you're only 26, right? At 26, I had no clue what humility was. But at 26, a lot of people looking at you now and saying, man, this guy is so humble. He's going to go so far. What do you tell these young people now? There's another generation of journalists, wannabe journalists, who want to be the next John-Allan Namu. What do you tell them?
I tell them that there are no shortcuts. What I got through hard work, self-belief. Of course, if you're a religious man, belief in God. And there really are no shortcuts. And being in the media, being a journalist isn't about you. We're all very narcissistic, Jeff. We all like to hear the sounds of our own voices as journalists. That's something that everyone likes to hear. But it's not about you. It's about the stories you tell. And these stories affect so many people on so many different levels that you need to remember that. And remember that if you take yourself out of that context and tell the story from the context of the people, the closer you get to people, the closer you get to a story. If you're able to do that, then you'll succeed as a journalist, no matter what field you're in, whether it's entertainment, lifestyle, hard news, investigative journalism. People make the stories, not the person who's voicing over the story or writing it down. It's the people he's talking about. That's one thing that I always tell everyone who asks me. The other thing, I guess, is to stay humble. To stay humble. There really isn't any room for people walking around with big egos and big heads, because there'll always be someone better. The beautiful ones aren't born yet.
There you go. Someone once said. And the one thing I keep telling people, John-Allan, is you're only as good as your last story. That's what I keep telling people. People have forgotten the Tijani track it thing.
Exactly.
And you've moved on, and that's most important. You're only as good as your last story.
True.
Right?
That is so true, Jeff. I cannot put that into words. There have been days that I've done excellent news stories, and the next day you do such a terrible story that you want to hide in a toilet for 3 days. Because this is a very cruel media as well. People judge you on the basis of what they see, and their feedback is immediate. There have been times I've walked off set after stammering and sputtering, like I told you, and I've got like 10 SMSs telling me, "Oh my God, what did you just say? Did you have something bad to eat? What was wrong?" And that happens all the time.
Sure.
So you need to remember to always keep sharp, keep humble, and remember just to keep the focus on the people and not yourself.
Yeah. Speaking of the Tijani track it story, that was a tough story to do, wasn't it?
It was.
People don't realize how difficult investigative journalism is, and plus the temptations that come with it.
Oh yeah, that was probably one of the hardest stories I've ever had to do, because I had met Tijani a year or two back when I was still an intern. I'd gone to do a story on tracking devices and stuff, so I knew him. And knowing, first of all, that this individual who seemed like such a nice guy, when I met him, was doing such nasty things, it also throws you back a little. It makes you think about the sort of individuals that do business in this country. Secondly, now apart from dealing with that individual personal issue, getting the shots that we needed to tell the story. You can't tell that kind of a story on television without pictures.
Exactly.
So positioning the cameraman, talking about what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, the sound, and then of course the clincher, which Mohammed and myself sat down and talked about at quite some length. Was the money.
Yeah.
This guy offered us 10,000. you don't get offered $10,000 every day.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of money.
It's 8 million shillings.
It's whoa, no, it's not
No,
quite that much. It's
800,000.
800,000, yeah.
Wow.
But it still is a lot of money for one story. So we sat down and we talked about it, and we said, you know what, there really is a bigger interest here than our own, and despite the fact that it is tempting, there is temptation. I will not lie about that. Despite the fact that there is temptation, we made that joint decision to say no. We're going to use this as part of the story and show that we can, because we're also making a moral point. Yeah, that crimes cannot be swept under the carpet by money. Correct. That money would have it's dirty money. It wouldn't have benefited us in any way. Yeah. And I guess that was the hardest decision to make.
And then lo and behold, a few months later, you win CNN, and a whole, you get your whole more money than you thought you'd get.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, God, He works in mysterious ways, man. He is one heck of a character.
with a sense of humor like no other.
Sense of humor. My gosh.
Yeah.
Because the dilemma that we went through at that point seemed so difficult to crack, and then a couple of months later, here I am on the bench.
On the bench.
Talking about awards that I've won, and having, won money that
was meant to be, man.
It seems like it was.
Well done. Fatherhood. I can't let you go without asking you about fatherhood, man. I know it's been a few days. How's it feel? Sleepless nights?
Not yet. Sleepless in the respect that I'm always worried about what's happening at the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm pretty jealous as well. She texted me last night to tell me that she's spending the first night with him in the bed, and I was like, and I wasn't there. Yeah. But there really aren't words to describe what you go through when you become a dad. It's just huge. Yeah. It's fantastic.
What's his name?
His name is Muna.
Sort of like Namu?
No. It does seem that way. It does seem a little narcissistic, but Muna is actually a description of both of our father's characteristics. We thought rather than name the person himself, we'd name what he stands for and what his character represents. My father is a very brave person, and so was hers. Very brave, couldn't be put down, a trailblazer. Yeah. He went to Harvard University from a background that you would not have believed. He's really been an inspiration to me, and that is my way of honoring him through naming his grandson.
Your folks must be really proud, not only your achievements, but what you just.
Oh yeah. They're bouncing off walls right now. In fact, after this, we're going to go out and pick a cot with my mom.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, she's really excited. Yeah.
John, keep striving, man. Keep striving and keep doing what you're doing. We're proud of you, man.
Thank you very much.
Each and every one of us. This is only the beginning. I have to hold these up again because my man is just cleaning house. He is winning everything and anything out there because he's a journalist's journalist. That's right. And he's humble. And he's only 26. He is the African Journalist of the Year. The future of Kenya is right here on the bench, and it's only Monday. That's right. John-Allan Namu has done everything so far, but he says he hasn't even peaked yet. He is just beginning. He wants to tell not only the Kenyan story, but the African story from an African perspective. How much better can it get? Watch this space, because it's only Monday. John-Allan Namu. This doesn't get any better than this. You cannot find these kinds of guests anywhere else, unless, of course, it's KTN. Award-winning station, K24, where we are, as always, all Kenyan.
All the time.
Well done, my brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.